down the road, things are gonna start picking up, back up. But 75% of our projects are moving forward. We're working remotely. Most of the offices, we're, I guess, kind of in the same boat contractors are, as being an essential industry. So we can come to the office and work, but I felt more comfortable having as many people working remote as possible. So about, 20-25% of the firm shows up at the office and the rest stays home. But that was the interesting part that I thought when I was asked to do this and looked at the numbers. Every private funded project was put on hold except one bank project that they're just now looking at whether they're even going to do a project or not. They're still exploring it, but we hadn't been really released to design it yet. They just have identified a project they want to do. So if it wasn't for the government or foundation work, our projects would be not sure where we would be right at the firm.
Gotcha. Well, that's kind of a scary place to be with the private projects all going on pause, all except for one, like you said. But you say that your government and foundation projects have moved forward. Have you seen any of them move up their timelines? Wanting to move forward more quickly?
No, but that's one of the concerns that they've had is will pricing, like the BMX project, is pricing from the contractors going to be more or less right now? Is it a good time to bid? Is there going to be, and that's something I don't know about, if the materials, how's the chain of supply of materials, how's that impacted, and how are contractors impacted by that when they bid, or projects they already have in hand. On the EduCare project, there's some sinks in the project that they're under construction. The plumber can get the sinks because they come out of China. And so we had to look at alternative sinks or see what the time frame, but nobody on the supply chain is committing to when those sinks will make it to the job site. And that may be happening more than I'm aware of as far as supply chain on materials. But I would think that'd be a big item.
Okay. Whit, thank you for those opening remarks. Josh, what has Cyntergy seen through this pandemic over the last few months, and how are your jobs holding out?
Well, we're in a similar boat to Whit. What he's saying, a lot of our private projects have kind of been put on hold, but optimistically put on hold. They don't see this as a long-term kind of pause, hoping to see everything kind of pick back up in June and July as the anticipation on the design side. A lot of our retail projects, we do some TTCU bank branches. We've got one under construction right now, another one being bid in Edmond, and then another one in Oklahoma City right after that. They haven't hit the brakes at all. They seem to be going ahead. Arby's has halted most of their projects right now, so we're not seeing any movement on Arby's. But then we're doing some small office projects like Coldwell Banker and those kind of things, and they haven't paused necessarily anything. And then we have some larger, not private projects like GRDA, the GRDA headquarters in Pryor, Oklahoma, still moving ahead, full steam ahead. It's about a $15 million project that we're in schematic design right now. They're really just trying to get drawings finished so we can go out to bid as soon as we can. So we haven't seen a lot of the large projects put on hold, and we've got some federal government stuff. We've got a big project at the Pentagon right now that is not on hold at all. And then we've got another one that just kicked off at Vance Air Force Base that still full steam ahead. So we've seen some of the pause in some of our design stuff. We've got a master plan for Bishop Kelly that we're doing, about a $20 to $25 million capital campaign with them. And of course, the projects that you see a capital campaign or that type of funding in Oklahoma with the oil prices where they have ended up, that obviously went on a pretty hard pause until the summertime just to figure out how their donor base is going to fall out. But the idea that they've said even on Bishop Kelly is even though it's a donor-based project, even if they have to pare it down, they're still moving ahead with part of the project. So, and then as far as current construction, got a couple of things going on at Mid-America Industrial Park, still going full steam ahead out there. We haven't seen the contractors asking for any extra time or anything like that due to this. So we haven't seen any of those requests come in just yet. So, and as far as our office goes, we have 120 people. We still have about 20 people in the office and about 100 working remotely. So,
gotcha. That's not too bad then. So, Josh, I know you had sent me some renderings of some of the projects you've got coming up, and I know we can get into those here in a little bit. You may have touched on a few of those in your opening remarks, but just make sure that you remind me if we get close to the end on this and I haven't gone back to that, I definitely want to show some of those renderings for our contractors that are on the line so they know what's coming up. So until then, I know that a lot of our contractors are very interested in the outlook that each of you has for the recovery. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, Governor Stitt is moving forward, probably fairly aggressively relative to other governors across the country about trying to get things reopened, with some of that beginning as early as this Friday, tomorrow, and then some 15-day windows there where they're going to monitor hospital stays and things like that, and then move into phase 2 maybe mid-May, and then phase 3 as early as June 1st. With all of that in mind, knowing that if all goes well and we don't see a resurgence in COVID-19, what general outlook, and Josh, I'll go ahead and start with you since Whit led off overall here. What's your overall outlook for the second half of 2020, and then we'll come back in a little while and talk about the long-term look as far as what you guys see in 2021 and beyond. But for the rest of this year, what's your optimism index, if you will?
Well, since we've had a couple of things go, and a lot of times you see the delay of 6 to 10 months after the architect gets the project to where it starts hitting bid or anything like that. I see some conceptual design things that we were doing kind of pause for a little while, and depending on how long that pause is, that's just going to be a delay about 6 or 10 months down the road because we didn't start construction documents like we would typically in the next few weeks. But I don't see a lot of those things happen, and we still have we're even talking to a higher ed institution right now about a $30 million project that they don't seem to be putting the brakes on either. So there are still a lot of talk of projects out there that it doesn't scare me as far as the long-term outlook goes. I know there's going to be some kind of pause, I think, due to our kind of upfront conceptual design pause now. If we're going to kick off the project right now and it waits 3 months, then 6 to 10 months, there's probably going to be a little bit lighter construction. But there's not a whole lot of that right now, so I feel pretty optimistic about it. I don't know how you feel about that, Whit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's going to be from the time the brakes were put on everything to the time the economy really, truly picks up. And I think that has to do with they can open up restaurants as much as they want, but until consumers have the confidence to go out and actually go out to eat and go to the store or whatever they open up, it may take a while because I think my private client, developer type clients, they're kind of looking around saying, well, what else is everyone else doing? What's everyone else doing? That was their first question when they called to tell us their project was on hold. So I think they're all looking around to see what, if if the optimism, it's still consumer confidence driven. If there's high levels of consumer confidence coming up, I think the private developers are more confident to risk their money doing a new restaurant or retail or whatever it might be. But until that happens, and I think the numbers are going to have to show it, that retail and different things are happening, I think people are still going to kind of reserve and hold on to their money and not commit it, unless it's, like I said, government or foundation work or that type of project where the money was earmarked or set aside. And it's, so I'm not sure. I was shocked at how many projects of ours are not private development type work. So that kind of tells me what I need to maybe concentrate on in the future. But a lot of it is we don't know what's on hold. Because there could have been people ready to pull the trigger on their project that just didn't make the phone call. They're just sitting back and say, well, we'll wait. And so the RFPs, we're working on just one right now for the American Airlines master plan out at the airport. That's the only RFP we've got. Usually we'll have 2 or 3 going at any one time. Right now there's just one, and we don't have anything that I've been told is coming up. So I think in the construction industry, you're going to see a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month lag of certain projects anyway. I was surprised American Airlines is moving forward, since I guess their numbers of every airline is really tanked on air traffic.
Whit, it's ironic. It's ironic that you mentioned American Airlines. I was actually on the phone with Chase Beasley from American Airlines. I ran into him at the Folds of Honor groundbreaking that we did, that ABC contractors did in conjunction with the Folds of Honor for the new building a few weeks ago. I ran into him, and he said, hey, I'd love to visit with your group about our upcoming projects. And so I actually called him yesterday. Our ABC, this is kind of the ABC shameless plug of the day, but our program committee has decided to move forward and tentatively schedule our first dinner meeting since this pandemic began for June the 2nd. It'll be back at Freddy's that evening, typical first Tuesday of the month dinner meeting, and they wanted me to reach out to Chase and see if he'd come and talk about the American Airlines project. He was very excited to do that. In my conversation with him, he said that yes, they are absolutely moving forward with it, but that they may be looking to stretch the entire project out over a longer time period. So it may take a few more years for them to come to final completion on the project, but in fact they are moving forward. So we're excited if the governor's Open Up and Recover Safely plan moves forward on schedule, we should be okay to have some type of a meeting that first Tuesday in June, and we've got American Airlines that's going to be headlining for us to come and talk about that particular project. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Everybody can get that on their calendars right now, and expect to get some more information from us in the coming weeks on that. So. Whit, I'll stick with you. We talked about sort of the near-term outlook. Tell me what you think about 2021 and beyond. How big of a ripple is COVID-19 going to have on commercial construction over the long term?
I think the different people are predicting different things on second wave of the virus, and this winter, they're saying the flu combined with the coronavirus could really be a big hit. And so a lot of it is just guesswork. My crystal ball is, I try to be optimistic as possible. I'm hoping the social distancing is working and will continue working. I think it's going to look different for everybody for the next year, 2 years, maybe 3 years on how we approach everybody. If they get a effective treatment, or a vaccine is effective, what a game changer. We're all of a sudden just as close to back to normal as we could. But I think you'll still see the delay that we're experiencing right now in the construction industry of a little bit of a lag. But I think once everyone's, like I said, consumer confidence goes up, I think it's going to be I'm very optimistic. I think the economy will recover much quicker than a lot of the pessimists might be talking about. I think it's going to be 2021 could be a great year. We've got the presidential election also, that could change the dynamics of consumer confidence, or depending on which side of the you sit on. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, come on, Whit. Give us your take on the presidential election and which would be best.
I don't think so.
All right, Josh. He's not going to do it. You're on the spot now. What do you think?
Hey, he brings up a good point. I think the presidential election is going to end up having more impact on 2021 than this virus is going to. And it really is all about consumer confidence, and not the ability to just open things back up, but the ability for people to go outside and not be scared to go outside. And until we get there, it doesn't matter how many things are open if people are still not going to go out and participate in the economy. So I think that's the key, is how do we get to either vaccination or the immunity? Where do we go from here and get people to be confident enough to actually go outside and participate in the economy, even if it is open? So.
No, that's good. So do you regardless of the presidential election, you think that sort of the long-term repercussions of this COVID-19 thing, if we get a vaccine or some type of FDA-approved medicine, you think that the long-term ripple is going to be pretty small? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but is that what I heard you say?
In business development, you have to be the optimist. You can't assume the worst of everything. So that's what I would hope for. Like Whit said, it's still kind of a shot in the dark. You don't really know how it's going to affect things, and it is definitely going to affect people's mentality about interaction with other people, even during the flu season. I think it's going to have an impact on how that works. So.
Good deal. Well, so while we're on that general topic, one of the questions that was sent in a couple days ago related to changes that you all have made or have seen made on the job sites. What have you witnessed or made recommendations to general contractors and even subcontractors on, accommodating for the health and safety of the workers on the job site? And then sort of the addendum to that is, do you see those any of these these changes, these heightened safety and health requirements? Do you see any of these becoming sort of permanent fixtures on the job sites going forward, whether it's additional hand washing stations or certain type of chemical spraying to try to kill viruses, whether it's COVID-19 or doing something proactively just in case there's something else, whether it's flu or common flu or common cold? Do you see anything like that in the future? But in particular, what have you seen so far?
I can tell you, I was out at our Broken Arrow mixed-use site last week, and we're doing 96 units with Cowan Construction and then 32,000 square feet of retail. And one thing that they've done quite a few different things as far as sanitizing the construction site, the trailer. They don't admit people into the trailer without towing it in and that kind of basic things. But they've also installed hand sanitizers all around the job site, so there's a lot of little pumps. But other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot of things that you can do on a construction. Typically, the construction site is open enough and everybody can stay spread out enough. So there's not a whole lot of transmission face to face. But I think they've taken a lot of precautions as far as the hand sanitizer. And then the job trailers where everybody kind of congregates anyway. So they've made attempts to control that for sure.
Gotcha. Whit, same thing. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, we're doing all of our construction meetings with webinars or call-in. So we've not really had a face-to-face meetings with the owners for a while. Still going out to the job site though, and it's mostly, I think, just what I've noticed is the social distancing. Everyone, I think that's aware, stays, the 6 or 8 feet away from each other. So I guess that, I don't know if that's going to remain. Dr. Fauci, I guess, had made the comment that if we continue with the social distancing and hand washing, the flu numbers are going to come down drastically. So maybe some of this stuff will remain in place, the hand washing and the social distancing to some degree. Hopefully the masks can go away. It's always, I feel like I'm about to rob the place every time I go into a store. And you go in, it's mentality, it's again consumer confidence. If I go to into the store and I look at everyone and just assume they've got the virus, and it's not the most positive outlook to think, any of these people could kill me. And they say 60 years and older is the start of the high risk group, and I'm 59, so I feel like I'm in the good group right now. But another 6 months, and I'm easy pickings. I'm low hanging fruit. So, but again, I'm trying to go into it optimistically, and I think that's what any of it should be looked at. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate those remarks, Whit. I guess we're having, I don't know if everybody else can see it, but it looks like Josh's video feed is glitching a little bit right now. My screen says that it will come back automatically at some point when when the bandwidth improves a little bit. So hopefully that's the case, and I'm sure that he's able to chime in verbally. So even though we don't have that feed going, we can hear from him. So one of the questions that's been typed in, Joe Coggins just asked how many are listening in on the conversation. Right now we have about 54 that have logged in. So really good number here today. And Joel, if you've got an additional question, I'll get to you here in just a second. I show that Brian Davis would like to ask a question. So Brian, I'm going to unmute you here and allow you to ask these guys a question if you still have one. Brian, can you hear me? Brian, I think I've unmuted you here. Let's see if this is working. Are you there? Are you still there, Brian? You still have a question? All right. Well, so we'll go on to Joel. We'll unmute him and see if he's got a question. Joel, are you there? Or did you just have the one question about how many are listening in?
I just was wondering how many were listening in. I couldn't see anywhere on the screen that it showed.
Okay.
I don't have a question at this time.
Okay, good deal. We're glad to have you glad to have you joining in with us. So one of the questions that I asked yesterday that we had come in from one of our contractors was regarding getting updates from architects on projects that are being worked on, postponed, canceled. Can they get those directly from you guys if they contact you? And do you guys, as architects, do your firms routinely establish bidder lists on a project, even if there is not a pre-bid meeting? And if so, can contractors contact you to request those lists? Is that something you guys typically do, Whit?
Yeah, a lot of times owners are coming to us with the contractor already selected. Other times, owners that don't have a contractor or an idea how they're going to contract, we review with them the pros and cons of construction management versus general contractors. For the trades, we try to make that the same regardless, whether it's a general contractor or construction managers. We try to get any project in the plan rooms so that all the trades get them. We look at it as the more people bidding, the better the prices are. So we're pretty open to sharing information that we have. Other times when we're asked who to contract, we try to give the owner 5 or 6, 7 different general contractors for them to research on their own. They're usually contractors that we've had past success with. It'd be fairly difficult to recommend an unknown contractor to an owner, just if we don't have a past history or a lot of word of mouth, recommendations. So that'd be the way. It's all we look. The longest way to recommend contractors or subs is past performance, and that's calling previous clients or previous contractors that subs have worked with. But we typically don't get into selection of subcontractors. That's usually up to the general contractor, the construction manager, how that system works.
Gotcha, Josh. What about your comments on that?
Yeah, we're also rarely involved in the selection of subs. We are usually heavily involved in the selection of the GC or the CM, and about half of our local projects come to us with a contractor already in place. The other half is typically a selection-based thing, and we're in the same boat. We typically would recommend people that we had worked with in the past, and so it kind of varies depending on the contractor. But like Whit said, the more around the table, the better competition there is. Then I think that's good for the owner and good for everyone. So,
gotcha. Good deal. So, Josh, I know that you had sent me some renderings for some projects that you guys have coming up. Do you want to go through those right now?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this content shared. I think I can. All right. Josh, can you see the GRDA project there that you had sent me?
I can, yes. So really what I just wanted to briefly hit was 3 projects that we've got coming up. This project is GRDA headquarters in Pryor at Mid-America Industrial Park. Crossland was recently selected as the CM, and so we are in schematic design right now, and if you'll flip to the next one, John, too. There's the next shot, little aerial view. It's about a 48,000 square foot office building for GRDA, so that's one that's going to be coming up soon. We plan on going out to bid probably late this year. So, and then the next project is Bishop Kelly, and this one we anticipated being done with schematic design in the middle of the summer. Kind of put on pause for now, but we anticipate this kicking back in this summer, probably bidding late next year, or late this year actually. The next shot is a image of the cafeteria that's kind of in that center courtyard area. And then the next one is an office building at 101st and Riverside, about a 25,000 square foot office, mixed-use office building. The ground floor is going to have some retail restaurant. The back side is going to have patios facing the river, so you can kind of see that patio sticking out over there on the west side of the building. But this one we have just kicked off. We just finished the conceptual design going into SD. We anticipate these construction documents taking about 3 or 4 months, so this should be hitting the streets pretty soon too. This is a Cowan construction project, so that's it.
Great. Well, I'm going to get us back on our regular view here. We still having a little bit of technical problem with your video, Josh, but so far I think it's been pretty informative. Kind of run through my questions here. I think we may have kind of run through the whole content. Are there anybody on the call right now that does have questions? We definitely want to get to you, and as we proved with Joel, I think I can get it unmuted if you hit your question button, or if you type it in in the box down there. And while we're waiting on that, I'll just kind of open it up to you two guys. Whit, actually, I'll go to you first here. Josh talked about some of the 3 upcoming projects he has. Do you have anything up your sleeve you'd like to talk about with projects that are going to be coming out soon that our contractors are going to be interested in?
Yeah, like I said, the BMX project is on the streets right now. Nabholz is the construction manager. It's a City of Tulsa Vision project. I think the overall budget now is $20 million. So it's some pre-engineered metal buildings, a 24,000 square foot office building, the track. It's got a BMX track with a big pre-engineered metal building roof covering it, very long span. The other projects are under construction. I think that's the one that's the most active. Like I said, if some of these projects with the private developers get back on track, then we'll have more projects that I think your group would be bidding on and would be interested in. There's a building renovation, 3-story building renovation just outside of downtown for a bank that was put on hold. That'll be a kind of an interesting project. Tulsa Day Center's moving forward, and Tulsa Educare's moving forward. On the car dealership in town, that's one of the ones that were put on hold. I guess the car dealerships were hit pretty heavy with the downturn in economy. There'll be a project in Oklahoma City that we are moving forward with. It's a city agency. It's Oklahoma City headquarters. They're looking at purchasing a building and renovating. Could be a pretty sizable, but we're just now programming it and mastering it. So we're still a ways away, but that hadn't stopped. But it'll be one for Oklahoma City coming down the road. And there's a Broken Arrow skate park. It's a small project for the Parks Department in Broken Arrow, but it's still in planning and design. The same guy that designed the BMX track is the designer for the skate park. It's out of Austin.
Gotcha. No, that's all good news. We're thrilled to hear about this project. Hey, Josh, do you guys have anything brewing in the Oklahoma City market that you can talk about right now?
Nothing right now. We have some things with the private developer that looks interesting, more of a destination retail thing. But other than that, nothing that we can talk about. I did have one interesting thing, John. We talked to you and Poe at the City of Tulsa permitting office, just to see how their workload was with permitting, and he said that they furloughed their team about 4 hours a week, so pretty light furlough, and the permit backlog is only a couple of days, so they're pretty light on permitting new projects. But he said he's not planning on cutting staff, and he hopes to reopen the positions he was trying to fill before all this very soon. So he was optimistic, even though they do have a pretty light load right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Josh, because ABC had promoted, and I joined a call with the City of Tulsa, the developers committee meeting that happened, I think, Tuesday. I can't remember for sure, but Ewan was on that call and mentioned exactly what you did, and more specifically, the 4-hour furloughs per week. Apparently they're doing that on Friday afternoons. So that's the time at which they're instituting those furloughs for the coming weeks. Is that your understanding as well?
I wasn't sure on when the timing was, but yeah, I think that's probably right.
Okay, good deal. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and it kind of leads me into another item. While you guys are thinking about your parting comments here as we get close to winding this down, I wanted to mention that ABC was thrilled to have our 4 architect members participate in these 2 panel discussions. We've had great participation over these 2 days, Tuesday and today, with this, and we're happy to continue doing this. I know there are tons of webinars that are out there. If there are issues that you are dealing with your companies that you would like some information on, please let us know. We want to provide the content that our members are interested in. One of the items that we've heard about in recent weeks, of course, is the situation with the unemployment payments being fairly generous to the point that some contractors have found it a little bit difficult to get to hire people off of unemployment, and so that's caused some issues, as well as some employees who aren't happy, or are concerned about their health, or maybe just really interested in sitting at home and drawing that unemployment because it's so generous versus continuing to work on job sites and in the industry. And so we're going to be putting something together with some of our legal firms that are members and talking about some of those issues, how to deal with long-term employment issues as a result of the COVID pandemic. So as we get information together on that and some scheduling, we're definitely going to get that out to everybody. But if there are other issues that are out there that you are dealing with as contractors or in other parts of the industry, and you'd like some expert advice or opinions on that, I do not have that to offer, but we will get the right experts on a webinar and get the conversation started so that we can answer some of those questions. With that, let's see here. I think we had Whit start things off, so Josh will have you close things out here first. Anyway, any parting comments before we shut down today? Josh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Anthony. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Good.
I think overall, I think we feel pretty confident and optimistic about what's coming up. We haven't had the big ones go on hold like we anticipated, but it really just depends on how long this thing stretches out. If we can shut it down and get back going, then I think everything is going to kind of maintain its momentum that it had 2 months ago. But we had such good momentum. We've had such a strong economy for the last 8 or 10 years that there was enough money sitting in the background waiting to be spent. It's not a matter of I don't have the cash. It's a matter of I don't know if I should spend this cash. So I'm optimistic about where we're headed.
Glad to hear it. Whit, what about you?
Yeah, I think I share Josh's optimism. I think once things start opening back up, I think there's no reason why the economy wouldn't accelerate and the backlog will be picked up. So there may be a fairly busy time period, I'm hoping, in the short term. And in the long term, I just hope it gets back, like Josh said, about the same pace that it has been for the last 4 or 5 or 6 years. So I'm trying to keep optimistic about it all and just look forward to every day is kind of a new day. There are days that nobody ever thought that we'd be experiencing, but it's kind of an interesting time. I keep telling my kids, because they're younger, high school and freshmen in college, trying to explain to them this is a very unique time period. And I don't know if they understand that or not, but it's a very unique period of time.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think that there's really anybody in the United States that's seen anything like this in their lifetime. So hopefully we can go another lifetime without seeing anything like this again in the future. So I want to thank both of you for participating today. Josh Chesney with Cyntergy, and Whit Todd with Todd Architecture. Also want to say a big thank you to Michael Hall of GH2 Architects and Barry Goldstein of KKT Architects for leading our panel discussion on Tuesday. And we look forward to having all of our ABC members join up with us on June the 2nd as we welcome Chase Beasley and American Airlines at our first big ABC dinner at Freddy's, at least since the pandemic started. So hopefully everybody keep your fingers crossed that we'll be moving forward at that time, and you get more information to come. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you both.